He used to say, come to a duck dinner, you bring the duck, so you're bringing the duck. Into the camera. Hi there. Smile, you're on candid camera. That's what I like to see. He's weird. Grandpa, you're weird.
Andrew, this is my friend Daniel from
Hello. Hello. He brought his little boy with him. He's a character. Oh my God. When Joe Hamper heard that we were going to have the camera, he said, I want to get on it too. So we took him coming out of his house, getting in the truck. After we got to the Lindley, we had Steve get off the driver's seat, had to get in the driver's seat. He went ahead of him and took a picture of him driving down in the... Then we took a picture of unlocking the office and coming out with the ice cream.
Well, tell us about when you were a milkman. How'd you get him to work? Did you have to do all of his work for him, or just half of it?
No, when he went home from work, if he didn't do enough work, he'd look at the kids and they're all hungry. Well, I better go back. Best part of it is when what page was it now? But well, anyway, there were 3 little kids sitting on the curb, 2 white and 1 black. And of course, you can't really say anything derogatory about the blacks because you're going to be called
Racist.
And anti-American and so on, even though they came from Africa, some of them. But one kid was a rich little kid, but they used to play together. And he says, you know what? No, what? When I was born, the doctor brought me in a great big automobile, black automobile, brought me to where I live. And the other little kid says, well, shucks, that's nothing. When I was born, my mother went all the way to that big hospital to get me. And the little kid, little colored boy, is sitting there with tears drifting down. Well, how about you, Jack? How did you come? I was only homemade.
He couldn't brag about anything.
Dr. McCarthy told us when we had chosen a man of the year at KC. He talked to somebody out in the gymnasium. He said, well, you know, he got a new riding mower the other day. And he come over to my house, asked how I wanted the lawn mowed. And I said, no, we'll take care of that later. I got a lot of boys, they can do that. But his neighbor on the other side had just dug a great big pond, and it was filling up with water, nice and deep. The older living on the lake road, nevertheless, the water was flowing that way, so I went in. And the guy says, now look, he says, I'm going in to eat lunch now. If you want to use my mower, it's all right. But keep away from that pond. Well, the guy was going along real well, all over the place. They're getting close to the pond and hit a little soft shoulder, and he went all the way.
Oh.
No, then he ran home, got his scuba gear, went down there, and he's pulling on the and it won't start. He comes up. It won't start. Again, so then the guy who owns it comes up and you all bend over. Hey, you've got to choke it before you pull. He told a couple more, but I can't remember. But you know, when we chose him, his family didn't tell him about it, so he wanted to keep it secret. But all his kids come home this Sunday, and it was Saturday night and couldn't figure out what they all coming home for. Well, we're gonna go out to eat tonight, Dad. Biggest boy said, okay. They even brought the little girl along that a little bit retarded. And she was hanging on her dad looking, eyes are beaming. And he come in and he said, gee, I didn't know Mount Carmel had a big feed going on today. Yeah, they said, well, we heard about it, we thought we'd like to take you out. So and then about halfway through the ceremony, why, I announced that he was our man of the year. And they poked him, Dad, get up there. Acting like he was afraid, you know, he come up on the stage. We gave him, I forgot we gave him a gift or something. And then he started going away. He said, no, he said, I can't leave yet. I got to get my word in. Then that's when he told that joke. Then he told a couple more afterwards, but I couldn't remember them all. But more than grass, that's in my line, so I can remember that. Oh boy.
Yesterday, the lady asked me if I have any old customers. Anybody I started delivering? Yes, I do. Dr. McCarthy. I have him almost right from the very beginning of the time I was on the milk run. I had to tell him about what doctor told you, that if Joe would deliver to me, I'll switch from the other milkman to this milkman. And then that the manager told you that I will let Joe deliver for a little, then we'll switch him over to the other man. And you told doctor, he said, like fun, he said, Joe don't deliver, I don't buy it. The most milk I ever delivered to any house, one Friday I delivered 40 quarts of milk to his house.
They must have been home for that.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You're the one about the crab and the crayfish? Well, they're young and they got to know each other and they decided they want to get married. So the little crayfish girls go home to Papa and tell him, hey, I've got a boyfriend and we're going to get married, raise a family. He says, no, you don't, not without my say-so. He said, well, this crab is waiting outside the door here. And he come out and, you're not going to marry my girl, we're not going to get in that low caste. So he takes away and you know, they all go sideways, you know. Zingo, away he goes. The old man couldn't catch him. So next day the crayfish daughter and the father were out for a little walk and he's trying to give her some instructions about married life and so on. Better to choose somebody in your own status and so on. And meanwhile, the crab got so disconsolate he didn't know what to do. So he went in the first bar and he, oh boy, he liked that shot. He's drinking one after the other, and then he comes out, he's a little bit unsteady, but walking like any other thing. So look, Dad, we converted him, he's walking straight.
My friend is coming.
Yeah.
See somebody coming?
Yeah, I guess so.
So then you've seen a lot of Dad's helpers come through here over the years.
Oh yeah.
Who's the first one you remember coming through as his helper?
I don't know who was the first one was helper.
No?
No. There was one young fellow that was helping him at one time. But he lived down 40 acres here. A couple of boys in the family, and the oldest one were helping him. And after a while they quit helping him, and when Dad was checking his receipts, he noticed he's short on cash. Uh-oh, well, God bless him, they need it more than I do. So after a while the younger man come around. And I went down there looking for him because I wanted him to come and do some work for me. I had roses to dig out. We're going to get rid of the morning glory and dig them all out. Well, I showed him how to do it, and after a while I went out. There he was with that the shovel, about 2 inches underneath the ground. He was cutting the roots off. He had them all out. He crying because he couldn't. Oh man.
Dad said that you used to You used to run the route for him the couple of times he got sick.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that, but you tell me about it. One time we were going through a corporate communion, KC corporate communion. So he got up early and got his milk and went on the way, and I knew the route quite well. But even before the truck come to stop, I'd be taking this side of the road, he'd be taking the other side. This was out near Geneva somewhere, there's farm country, on the South Ridge, I remember coming back. And he was going uphill, he let the thing post a little while, and because we wanted to get done. Now, I forget how many units there were in that thing, but we finished it in 45 minutes.
Wow.
Just got to Mass on time. And, oh boy,
Do you keep big bars around anymore, Conor?
if there's some up there, they're there.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any up there now or not.
I guess not.
There's some other sandwich stuff, isn't there?
No, that's my that's the ritual when I come here is to eat your fig bars.
You must have been here the other day. Joe, how many units did we pedal at Route 8?
600 units.
600
That
units.
was a big route. The average route is 500 units. An hour and 45 minutes. All the way,
Joe, I would tell him it was 45.
all the way out to Geneva and back. All the way, and then come back on the Lake Road. One Sunday morning, we wanted to get to the 8:30 communion breakfast mass in Jefferson.
We just made it.
Yeah. Yep.
We must have been running.
Oh, yeah.
We were going.
And I told him about the time that you came with me the first half of the route, and I drove and you delivered, and the second half of the route, and the manager came and delivered the second half of the route. When I hurt my back, that all I could just sit there and do like that. Do you
And
remember?
he wanted you to deliver,
Yeah,
jump in and out.
yeah. Because the relief man was taking another route, see? Well, he could have said, well, okay, when he's done with that route, he'll take your route. No, he didn't. He just go ahead and deliver.
One time, 2 summers ago, I was coming from Geneva this way to go to the guy out by Sandburn Road was on a ride. He looked familiar, but I wasn't sure. He told me his name, but he'd give me some kind of name, but not the name I knew him for. And he gets in the car, and I said, well, how far are you going? He said, I gotta go to Conneaut and visit my relatives. They're waiting for me, they're at dinner waiting. We're talking, going along, he says, you wouldn't think I was 89 years old, would you? I said, no, you don't look 89, you look more like 65 or 60. He said, I fool everybody. He come bottom as far as 5 Points, and he waved goodbye, turned down Lake Street. Then Rupert Loomis's son used to peddle milk too, but he was working out at the Gulf Station. And I stopped there a few times when I needed gas or checked my tires, whatever, get kerosene. And he was telling me that, I asked him, how Rupert is, how's your dad? Well, he says he's real healthy, but doggone, he said, we can't keep track of him. He takes off in the middle of the night and goes somewhere, and he expects his wife to go along too. He gets mad because she won't get up out of bed and get dressed, go for a walk. At 2, 3 o'clock or any time. He says, just last week, he got out, it was Sunday morning, we couldn't find him. First they had the police in Nashville and Conneaut and Geneva keeping an eye out for him. So he said, I don't know where he disappeared to. He says, the cops called us from Conneaut to come and get him. Here I'd given him a ride and didn't recognize him. Well, I says, you know, the only way he could do it is somebody give him a ride and take him down there. Yeah, he said, I couldn't figure out who would have given him a ride. You're not supposed to give people a ride these days anyway. I said, well, it was me because they didn't recognize him. He didn't talk like himself. He had lost considerable weight from the time I saw him. Terry had a nice conversation about the weather and this and that and the other thing. He says, you're the rascal, you're the... we couldn't figure out somebody had killed him or fallen over the viaduct or something. No, I said he rode across the viaduct. Somebody picked him up after I gave him a ride.
You remember the lady the Italian lady used to go in the church and pray real loud?
Yeah.
We used to call her, what do you call it, Holy Mary or something like that? Anyhow.
Praise the Mary, Holy Mary.
The poor lady, real sincere, but he was a little, her mind was a little bit weak. Anyhow, she'd be walking down the road, in the middle of the road, and make the cars get out of her way. One time the cops picked her up, and I don't know why, but they brought her to me at the school here, and I could speak a little bit of Italian. I asked her, "Volete andare alla casa? Del chiesa. You want to go home or you want to go to church?" She said, "I want to go home." So I took her to her daughter's house up on 40th Street, on Todd Avenue there. And she said, the daughter said, "You can't keep her home. She takes off anytime she wants." But I remember one time, she was at the 7:30 Mass, and the workers start work at 8 o'clock on the church. They were doing pounding, and they were pounding during the Mass. Mass had started already. So she goes out there hollering at her real loud, scolding him and making noise when the priest is saying the Mass.
And in the sanctuary way high, and on the dome you have colored windows. One was depicting the, that was the goose, the ostrich or what, and it's supposed to represent Christ, you know, he's taking blood from his chest.
Pelican, yeah.
The pelican, and then giving it to his
Yeah,
youngster.
yeah.
And she saw that, oh, she let out a roar. He was talking, hey, when you put animals up, this is a church, you know.
Makes me think a little bit about the church in Helltown, and that, especially that incident where the rich guy would want to come and repair it. You know, "Oh, we kind of like it like this. If you fix the hole, the pigeons can't come in." They changed it from Thursday now to a Saturday evening at 9 o'clock now.
I haven't seen it for quite a while, maybe a month or so. They didn't let that series stay on very long.
Oh, it was pointing the finger at too many people. Yes, sir.
Uncle Andrew, what helpers, what of his homegrown helpers do you remember coming through here?
Well, I can't remember what happened, but they used to trap in here to eat breakfast. I remember that much.
Who do you remember? When did it not? Not all the older boys didn't come.
Well,
Who do you remember?
I think Paul and I think Jimmy did too. Jimmy helped a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't remember some of the things they were doing.
Too many to remember.
One time, well, it was summertime, and the milk was just starting to turn sour, see. I opened it up, tasted it wasn't too good. Well, what the heck, a little fancy in there. So I put it on my cereal and I was eating, and Joe had left, I don't know, 2 or 3 kids here while he went somewhere. I said, "Here's your milk." Now, she says, "It tastes a little bit different." So they poured a little bit on, tasted it. No, later face. Just then their dad come up here. Margaret wants to know, "Oh, Dad, Uncle Andrew's making us eat rotten milk."
How about Marie's when she was a little girl eating the soup?
Well,
Bean
that
soup?
was at Marie Louise.
Bean soup?
Yeah. We had,
Fresh green beans.
oh, no, this wasn't fresh green beans.
Wasn't it?
No,
There
this
was some
was the-
green beans and some seeds.
This was the kidney beans.
Oh.
And it had sauerkraut in it and stuff. And
No.
so Marie Louise was just, I don't think she'd go to school, but she's
No,
she
was 2 or 3 years old.
She looks at things and cry and pushes it away, starting to cry and push it away. "What's the matter?" "My mommy don't make me eat beans and make you seeds."
Eat seeds.
Another time, Mary had taken care of her because your mother having one of the fallen kids, I don't know which one it was, and so she brought her over here. Mary said, "Well, I'll bring her over here," and it was a little bit dark. She'd go to the front and run to the open up. She'd, "Oh, that dark!" He'd come back in.
She didn't want to stay. She wanted to go home.
Yeah. Well, one day she was here in the daytime, and we said, "Well, let's take her out and we'll show her the nuns across the street." As they were I know what to do, going back and forth or something. To get out there, she's going along the way. All of that, she turned and screamed and run back in. As very fast as she could come. The fighters are coming, the fighters are coming. You're afraid of the fighters.
Just like the time that Hungarian customer down the harbor, Mrs. Demko,
Yeah.
she had a little girl who was maybe 3-4 years old, and she rode a tricycle, and I was delivering milk to them. Apparently the mother used to use me for a boogeyman to make her behave, you know? So when I drove up with the milk truck, that poor little kid got so scared, she jumped off her tricycle, the tricycle fell down, she was running into the house, hollering to her mother, "Unit Torma, Unit Torma, Unit Torma! Torma's coming, Torma's coming!" Just like the Tartars are coming. That was the great cry of the Hungarians when the Tartars, they were coming to destroy them because they became Christians. See, "Unit Torma, Unit Torma, Unit Torma!" One of the more pleasant experiences on the route was the fact when this one customer, corner of Union and 13th, I guess it was, Ohio and 13th, they had a little girl, maybe 2-3 years old. And once a month, when it come payday, I would go in and they'd pay me. And when I went in, I'd take this little girl and go around and around and around with her. See, birdie fly, I'd say birdie fly. So she expected it all the time. After a few years, when the girl didn't need as much, they quit delivering. So I didn't see them again for about 15, 16 years. And one day on the route, the mother and the daughter were in the car, and the mother wanted to save me for something, so they stopped me. I stopped talking with them, and I'm talking to the mother. The daughter was driving. She was old enough to drive. She leaned over to her mother and whispered something to her mother. And the mother said, "She wants to know if you remember birdie fly." I said, "Well, I remember, but I didn't want to say anything." Remember who that was? Zook Crape.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, his wife died, he's remarried. Yeah. You remember birdie fly? Oh yeah, I remember.
Remember
birdie
the
fly.
time we had noodles and Scottish cheese. Cottage cheese on top of it. This type of cottage cheese that has, we can't want to heat it because it gets stringy. The homemade cottage cheese, you could mix it up in there and it wouldn't bother. And we're all sitting down eating, and Margaret was here, and she started to cry. No, she didn't want it. Why not? She says, "My mama don't me eat grass." And we had dill leaves
Mixed in with that.
on top of it. Don't make me eat grass. So every time she come, I tell her, well, we got to eat grass out in the backyard and the front yard. And, "No, I don't."
It makes me think of one of the first times that little Tommy was on the milk route. I guess he must have been about maybe 6 years old, 5 years old. Anyhow, the one elevator at the high-rise has a back entrance and also a front entrance. The back entrance is a service entrance. See, when he was coming down with his brother or sister, whoever it was, he pushed the button for the back entrance to open. So when it opened, he walked out, and it closed in back of him, see? He was all alone in the boiler room. For months afterward. Every time his mother brought him to Ashtabula, he would say, "Mama, I don't have to go on the milk route, do I?" He does the milking most of the time now. Last night, I was ready for milking. They asked me to milk, see? So I was milking, and they said, "Well, don't you remember your songs they used to sing?" So I was singing my special songs while I was milking. And then when I almost finished milking, I let Tommy finish up. So I was real glad to have that chance.
We used to call him Mulesy.
Mulesy, Tommy. Rabbit-hearted. That's what he still is, more or less.
He's
Oh,
too
real tender
he's
heart.
scared.
Oh,
Little
tender.
shy.
Yeah,
right.
real tender.
One day they were out here last summer, and we got this 2-inch pipe that used it to tie the clothes of the clothesline on and dry clothes sometimes. And the metal line, I used to put it up and we'd whack it to get the rugs in order to get the dust out of it. And I was out in the garden, I heard a clang, like metal falling on concrete. I turned around, there was 3 little guys out there running around, jumping over the milk crates out in the yard, just enjoying themselves so much, you know. And I said, anybody get hurt? No. Then I couldn't figure out where the clang come from. But here he was, I remember he was up there hanging on this crossbar. And evidently it was rusting out of coming down and he could have got the skull fracture or something. That's heavy. So it's laid there ever since. I'm trying to figure out how to put threads on it again. I think I'll have to dig it out.
Put a new pipe in.
Yeah. If I put threads on this one, it might break off too.
Oh, yeah.
Now we don't have anything to hang the clothes on or anything outside. I remember I was working shift work and Ann was working at the rubber company at the time. And she'd work in days and I'd work shift work, so I was either days, afternoons or nights. And there'd be out, it turned out that most of the time I was the one doing the wash. We didn't have a dryer, take it out, put it on the line, and go forth here. I had a nice little apron on. And Louis Vichte, 2 doors over, he started laughing. What are you, man or woman? I said, come on over here and I'll show you. I wasn't too pleased with it in the first place. I got used to it. But he never touched anything housework. You know?
Oh.
He's always repairing the house. He's a great guy for doing things, but nothing in the home, nothing in the house. He remodeled his kitchen and things like that, and remodeled the bedrooms and so on. But when it comes to washing, oh no.
Well, you were quite a good cook, I hear, on the boats.
Oh yeah, I had lots of fun. I can remember we were on a boat that had a passenger cook on it. And I'd be a passenger cook and a passenger waiter. That'd be 2 extra people.
Huh.
And the previous boat I was on, the porter was showing me how to bake bread. He was a cook in a Plum Hollow Golf Club out somewhere near Detroit. Zach was his name, Zach. Z-A-K last name. And so we're going along and just learning that. And I was watching the cook cutting meat and so on. I'll make a long story short. When the passenger came, well, the guy was second cook went passenger waiter. And I went second cook, and I was doing everything second cook should do. And the guy that was cook there was a guy from Buffalo. And he's a Catholic guy, but for some reason or other he took a dislike to me. But it was okay. But after a while, I got so I thought I was doing everything the second cook should do. And sometimes the cook would wake up late. I'd get the stuff ready for him. Well, this time, the cook and the passenger cook went ashore. They were there quite a while to come back. They were polluted. I was in the top bunk. I heard the deckhand coming to wake us. So I hollered to him, okay, we're all right. I jumped out, and I almost jumped on the cook. He was laying on the floor. And tried to wake the porters up. I couldn't get any action out of them. So I called the maid up and asked him if he could hold me a couple of deckhands. Joe and another guy come along. They swept and mopped the floor. There's old iron ore on the doggone thing. And they peeled potatoes for me, whatever. So we had breakfast. And by the time these guys woke up, I had everything ready for lunch. It was about 11:30. And I went outside to cool off. Sat in front of the boiler house and cooled off. And after a while, little Tom peeked around the corner. Oh, here you are. They never thanked me or anything. No. They never even mentioned it. No. It's okay. I said, so when it getting near the end of the passenger season, I wrote a letter to the office asking if I could get a second cook's job somewhere, because I didn't want to go back to porter after being second cook. So, make a long story short, the old man got a telegram to let me go somewhere else. So I got off at Duluth. I had 3 bags with me. I didn't have sense enough to call it the
Taxi.
not the taxi, but the grocer. Grocer.
Oh, the grocer.
And they generally do favors for people on the boat. So I, when the boat come in and come by, been out 6 hours late. It was just during supper time. I remember I carried my bags up, put them on the deck, and I went around looking for the cook's place. I saw that. I put my bags in there. I come out in the galley. This was Pudge Prudhomme. I was with his brother one year and it was porters. And so he said, "What the hell are you standing there for? Get an apron on and give me a hand." I said, "Well, this is going to be something." But he wasn't very tall, but he was full of the dickens and full of hell, I think. And every once in a while, he'd get about 3 paring knives. And this one particular guy was in there, oiler in there, and they'd sitting down, he'd take that and zip right over his head, put it in the wall. He must have been practicing for years. So that guy jump and run, get up and run out. Then after a while, I had the chance of my lifetime. The way he'd bake, he'd make a cake, just mix it up, and it didn't come out right on a garbage chute, see? Bake a little bit different. He never used any recipes. So he'd make cakes and pies. Not so often pies as cakes, but anyway, when I was on the other ship, well, there was another guy there as a second cook, and he was a baker from England. He started in the bakery first by, all those folks owned it, they'd go and get all the dirt out of the corners on his hands and knees, teach him the right way to do it, see everything about him. So he'd give him some pointers too, and then he also made recipes from, he cut it down from 1,000 loaves to 6 or 8, you know. You're going to make a big mistake if you do something just wrong. But he could feel the dough, know, and it was all right when it wasn't add milk or water or whatever. But this guy's wife had fallen, the cook's wife had fallen, broken her tailbone. It was very painful. So he was going to get off, and I was going to go cooking, and there was one porter as second cook and hired another porter. It was all right, except the second cook never did anything but wait on the table. Wow. I said, that's all right. You know, I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm going to show him. But this guy never made homemade bread, and I'd make whole wheat and rye and wheat. And every day, either the noon or night lunch, I'd have hot bread, you know, little buns or Johnny cake or something, biscuits. I just worked my tail off, you know. And he was gone 2 weeks. But we were coming down Detroit River. The old man rang the bell. "Come on up here, I want to talk to you." So I went up there. And he talked about everything but what he was going to tell me. He said, "Well," he says, "might as well come out with it." He said, "Would you be interested in coming as my cook next year?"
No, oh boy.
"Oh boy, that'd be wonderful." He says, "Now," he says, "see, when I talk to him like I would to my father. But the cook would talk to him like he was just nothing." And this is, I think, the 4th or 5th cook he had that season. And it's hard to get along with. So what the heck? I said, "Sure." Okay, he said, "We'll get you a job the next spring." So I made extra care to watch where things were stowed away, because the skipper was coming back on the same ship. So I was fortunate because I had that, and then I took previous inventory on things in my room, and I was gathering all my recipes together and put it in one book so I'd have, sure enough, early in the year, I got a telegram to go. There. And when the cook come back, he and the chief lived aft. He and the chief engineer would get to talking a little bit. He said, "Well, how'd you do?" while I was gone. And the chief told him, I didn't even know you were gone. See, he's half German and half French. Big guy liked to eat. And all these hot muffins or hot rolls, you know, he'd take it, dunk it right in his coffee, you know, in the dining room. The old man got a little splat on the tablecloth. We had to cover it with a napkin or something. You couldn't have anything dirty there. Very careful. And after about the third year, I got this baker as a porter, and I made him second cook. And he was treating the man really good, but he had more gumption than I did to do things that upset people. I had a guy there that always complained that you all getting hard bread. So this guy had the bread ends saved in the pantry, and he put them on a plate and put them in front of this guy because he was always bitching about everything. So here he is, feeding the old man. The old man would come in right after when the guys were supposed to be going out. So we get all the dishes except his. They didn't like to sit in there with him, so he went out. You know, the second cook says, you know, Captain, what's hot toast? Everything hot in the breakfast. He said, I'm going to try to give it to him. I said, you do that. You got to treat him right. He'll give you a good recommendation. I will too. Anyway, they had these little bowls with a finger hole in it to put over toast or whatever you want. Well, the guy was ready for his coffee, and bring his coffee one side, put the toast on the other. The man stuck his finger in there. It was hot.
Oh!
I went crash all over the place.
Ooh.
He looked up at the guy. The toast is hot. You know, I would have never done that. This guy was a baker, and I never saw anybody do it. But he'd reach in with a cloth and take out a pie, wow, and put it on his hand, like wow, the guy one hand to the other. One hand to the other. I don't know how he didn't get scalded or burnt. And these guys, everybody, I couldn't imagine somebody taking something hot out of the oven like that.
You got to tell them about when you were trying to save the table and the dishes. This is a good one. I like this one. Where did this happen? Erie?
Yeah, it was Erie. Joe was come aboard as I got to get a drink of water. Joe came aboard as a deckhand, and the chief of the mate is, you know somebody down this way? Why, I need a deckhand who was not afraid of work. Okay, so Joe was laid off, I guess, bow socket anyway. He come aboard, and one of the things we learned to be careful when the old man was drunk. See, these boats will rock a little bit when they're making a hard turn. He hadn't put any ballast in the side tanks, so they're sitting right on top of water. And come out of Erie. The Erie Bay is a little place where people fish whenever they got breakwaters. So as that guy was turning, I didn't even put the groceries away. As he was turning, he started going more and more and more and more. So I ran and got a saucepan and threw water on the table because it had the plates turned upside down for the next meal. But when we rolled, we always put water on the thing so it would stick better.
Dishes will stick to the tablecloth.
So I tried that. All of a sudden, started rolling more and more. So I was trying to get to the door to close it. It opened out. And then the thing was going so about 4 good rolls. First, everything come toward me. Here's the door over here. See, this is crosswise on the ship. This way, the door opened up, and I had to put my feet to brace myself. And then it went back the other way. I was stood about halfway down on the table. I just couldn't. And then the doggone table broke loose.
It's bolted to the floor.
And it's still broken.
And I had to hold that thing, otherwise I'd have gone overboard.
Smashed it right through the door overboard.
And, of course, the mate ran up to see what was wrong up in the pilot house, and the guy told him, laughing, we got to give you a little roll anyway. And then he was laughing. And the chief, or the mate, hit himself on the railing on the second deck. Broke about 3 ribs on one side, And the worst part was we had passengers on board.
Oh, gee.
A couple with their 2 little girls, about 8, 9 years old. And they got scared, jumped out of bed, so they were tumbling back and forth. And when they came in for their breakfast, both of them had black eyes. Of course, they were going to do something with the captain, but I guess he had so many senior rights that they, I don't know if they punished him as far as money is concerned, but they really read the riot act to him. Now, in our cupboards, didn't have any doors on them, but had wood like this, and this is inside the cupboard. You had to reach over the top and
So the
put it
dishes
in.
wouldn't come out of the cupboard.
So we ended up with 12 plates for 30 people.
All the rest broke?
That's how high it was going, and it could come right out in cups, and oh my. But one thing that was almost tragic, bought a crate of oranges, and the meat block broke loose. When that thing hit that, the oranges were going all over the place. The meat block was about
You know what
so
the
thick.
meat block is?
Were you chopped?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was about so thick, and it was all maple. That was heavy. That thing broke loose. I'm glad I wasn't near that, because that broke my legs. And we had meat that I had hung up in the ice box. It was off. They were off the hooks, and the water go swishing back.
Sloshing around.
So I was scared. I really was scared when that thing was coming towards me. But it came so soon and quit so soon. See.
The table, when the table came from.
But then none of my crew was there. They were hanging on to their bunks. They come in and saw, and well, they got to stay up and help me clean everything up. Put the crate overboard.
You had 10-gallon cans of milk in there too?
Oh yes.
They
Some of
turned
them
over.
were- had this corned beef in there, and a big crock. And that crock broke all over.
Oh.
Well, like slop in there. It had a little drain in the corner, but that would get plugged up sometime, and the water didn't go fast. So you had to step into the cooler. At the doorway, there was a step over. You had to step over. Every doorway, I had to step over. And that was almost full. I was almost sick. What the heck? It wasn't up to me to tell the old man what to do. Captain McNicholas. He was supposed to be a Catholic. And we went all the way up to the sewer, and the boys were eating out of saucers and serving dishes this way, that big. And they had to eat in shifts. And the guys really had to wash the dishes up and bring it out again. But that's the biggest role I ever had. Then the one deckhand was promoted to deck watch. Not able-bodied seaman. He hadn't had that taken that test. So they were pulling the
Hatch
hatch covers together. It was
They're flat pieces of steel about as big as this table, very heavy, and they're pulled with a winch, steel wire cable.
And the deck watch would tell me, is, "Hang on, Joe." He said, "Don't worry, I am." If one of those comes sliding at you one way or the other, just cuts you too.
A couple of them hatches went down into the hole too.
Yeah, so
The wave just picked it up, threw it right down in.
then one time coming back from up Lake Superior, they had a little hook ladder. The mate used to, while he was loading the boat, he'd get on and go see exactly where the water line was.
That's how they tell if it's loaded enough, how
And
far
you
down
have-
the
you
boat
have to
goes.
balance the
And
whole
yeah, level too. Not
So somehow or other, this ladder got down in the hole instead of hanging on slipshod. So he told Joe to dig it out. And I know it's heavy, and there's only a little bit of it sticking out like this. So Joe was down there working. People had all closed the hatches already, and then the lights went off on down there too. Joe was still there. Mate told me to get it, he wanted it. So he come around and he said, "What happened to your brother Joe?" I said, "I don't know. Last I saw him, he was down the hole with Dublin." "Oh my God, he's not still down there." my best. That iron ore was heavy. One time, two of the deckhands went down in South Chicago, went up and had some booze and whatever. And I was still new, but it was during the afternoon. Then the afternoon went into night. We had 3 holes in the ship. There's big separations for the different kids carry different material or different quality. And it was my job. They didn't have Hewlett's like they had down here where they do a good job. You know, they had a big bucket. And the guy was directing them, you know, to where to move it, how to do it. They're real good. They got to get their shovel up against it and turn this thing so it goes in the corner. But all of the floor of the holes were rough. Because the
iron ore falling down in it, you know, when they load it.
So the mate told me to get down there and brush this iron ore into one big pile. Well, I did all right on 2 of them. The third one I just couldn't keep up with. And you have to climb up over and little place to put your hand and your feet, like on the side of the doggone hole. So I couldn't keep up with it anymore. And the mate looked down. The second mate, he's a guy from up in around Duluth somewhere. He laughing at me, you know. Thought you were big, huh? You thought you were strong, eh? Huh? Well, we showed you now. I said, I don't care what you're going to show me, but I can't do it. I can't keep up with it. And the workers then started to help me a little bit, you know. Fellas, dock wallopers, they call them. And it made sick bitch, let it go, let it stay. So then, after a while, when you get near Lake Erie, they had to go in there and clean it all up. Rinse it down, shovel all the iron ore out, get as clean as you possibly can, because we were going to take coal back up to Duluth. And the best time was that when the deckhand didn't like it. I was a porter at the time. A little 320-foot ship, the Elba. We carried
one of the smallest boats on the lakes at the time. Just 1 football field long.
Oh, we were, every time we took ore, and then you had to clean it all up. You go up a whisk broom, man. Every place something might stop and get it out because we're going to get grain.
Grain after that. Boy.
Wow.
And we went down Lake Ontario, and they have this endless chain of buckets go in there. And you can see the wheat or whatever seeds they're going down, you know. Just before we got there, the day before, there was a guy who got caught in there.
Yeah.
Got too close, and I guess, I don't know, too careless or whether would happen. Anyhow, they start churning him around.
Wow.
And they said it took about 3 hours to get him loose.
Gee.
But of course, by the time they got him out, he was gone. He couldn't do it. Didn't say if they threw the grain away either.
How about the big suite, Andrew, in the mess hall?
Oh boy, that guy.
At the beginning of the season, they'll all be hungry, huh?
Yeah, and everybody's
Jump right in all 4 feet, you know?
working at it. He says, hey cook, why don't you bring in the slop pan? Get the slop pan here for these pigs.
He'd say, what? Dishes again? Where's my trough?
And he had a spyglass, like the old people did, you know, it's like this. And he'd point that thing where he's going to see it, and I try to look, but he was watching the people, especially in Lake St. Clair and along the Detroit River, enjoying themselves. Boy, they're looking, holding up that bottle of beer for me, and I can't get it.
One of these places where he stopped, ran a loading or unloading, whatever it was, one of the decklands with a little Polish fella, and
We're loading iron ore.
oh, iron ore. Anyhow, he went to shore. Of course, he got plastered, but he was bringing back a quart of whiskey with him. You're not allowed to, see, but he was pretty drunk, and of course we walk along the edge of where the boat is. It's concrete. You know, he dropped that quart of whiskey on the concrete. He sat down beside it, was crying. Here his quart of whiskey.
They told Joe to go down and bring him up.
Yeah, he couldn't climb up the ladder by himself. He was too drunk. So I threw him over my shoulder, brought him up to put him in his bed. Oh, you sure need some characters.
I was so doggone dumb when I went to second cook. I just called it, it would save me a lot of agony. I had a, not high about that long, a foot locker, I guess they call it, and I had a burlap, not burlap, but canvas bag, big son of a gun, had everything in there. And then I had little satchels for my shaving and so on. And they told me when it was coming in, I said, well, I'm gonna get this. I got a taxi from the Hawaii down to the dock, but taxi wouldn't carry the stuff for me. So there was a bumboat over there. That's the boat that services all anybody wants to get on the ship, the little boat and buy stuff. By the time I got the stuff up on the ladder and the guy telling me, what the hell are you doing here? You're not going to work, you know. I felt like turning around and come back. We had second cook was this guy's brother, his younger brother, about my age. He's always talked about school and so on. And in their family, they all had beautiful voices. This guy starts singing, you know, he's cutting green stuff up, he's going like this, singing away, not even hitting the stuff with a knife, you know. And he was second cook with his brother for a while. And his Pudge was a nickname for the cook, short guy, big around. But finally, he said, hey Louie, yeah. This guy was singing at the time, he was probably thinking of his girlfriend. Give me that rag, give me that rag. Where is it? He said, it's up your ass.
Get to work.
The following year I was cook and he was still second cook. He stopped in here once after the season was over, but his girlfriend married somebody else and he was heartbroken. But he went and talked to another girl into marry him. She was a real good girl, you know, nothing fancy, nothing wasteful about anything. But they stopped here. They're going somewhere to a ship, I presume, and I hadn't shipped out yet. But they sat and chatted for a while, and I thought it was a bad thing to do, but he was taking her as second cook. He got a cook's job.
Wow.
Taking her as second cook. There's no place on shipboard for a woman. Always makes trouble.
Did you go on the boat right after high school, Andrew?
I never went to the prom or
Is that the time that Clarence got the job
yeah.
in Toledo? Oh, that's when I brought you up to Toledo then, huh?
No, that was the second year.
Oh, that was the second
Yeah,
year?
they came in Ashtabula on the Fayette Brown and Skipper asked Clarence to be.
Oh, that's when you
knew a
first went
fella.
on.
Knew a fellow that would be a good deckhand.
Oh, uh-huh.
I was greedy as can be when it got to stuff.
Well, the second year I took you to Toledo then.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, that's when they went as porter.
Yeah.
Clarence Gusman got a telegram to report as porter, and he was a cook. See, that's how bad it was in
That year.
in '38.
Yeah.
And he took the telegram, turned it over, wrote an introduction for me to the cook. So they come down to Toledo. The Casino Dock is about 10 miles out of town. Toledo. So I went up, and there was light on in the galley, and went up and morning cook. And I says, here's my recommendation. Recommendation, Al, he says, are you porter? I said, yes. He goes, grab that knife and make little ones out of those potatoes. So that's while I was going at it, you know, like this, he come, I had bucket about half full and a bag of potatoes almost gone. You know what? Hey, I said to make little ones, not marbles. So I went back to the, before I started peeling potatoes, I waited the boys back. Joe brought my bag up and away they went. That's how I got my job as second cook. I wouldn't have had a job that year at all because it's very difficult. In '37 we laid up in Lorraine about October. Ordinarily the ships run until December. The bottom fell out of everything and will I get a job or not, but parents said, well, let's give it a try. Sure enough, the whole crew was there, and there's one cook that's cooking, doing all the work for him. So the guy came aboard as porter, and I went and asked the guy, who's going to be first porter? He said, never mind that, I'll tell you who's going to be first porter. So the first porter doesn't wash so many dishes, he waits on the mess room table.
And they call them pearl divers, huh?
Actually, that thing was so low, I think there's only that much room underneath the sink.
Oh.
They had to bend over.
Boy.
And I think, sometimes I think my sweat filled it up to the top.
You know, the ceiling of the kitchen was just a little bit above your
This
head,
much.
and it was a coal stove. Big, big coal stove. Did all your baking and cooking, everything on a coal stove.
And you couldn't ever let it go out because you never get started in time again.
Oh, you're really
You
sweating.
get by iron ore chutes loading or drain, you get a downdraft.
Yeah,
You can't get that far to go.
boy.
So we used to put a fan in front of the bottom where take the ashes out and fight the downdraft. Well, we always lost out because we couldn't possibly cook with it that way. So when we get in such position, we'd have something cooked up ahead, so all I had to do was warm it.
Wow. You know, when they move those boats along the dock to load them, they have to move back until to fill the boat evenly, see? And they have the great big steel cables like this. And you move the loop from one big iron pillar to, they call them near heads. And they would put it on there, and then the winch on the boat would move it. And there's no guarantee that those cables wouldn't break. I saw one break when I was up there, and it parted like a whole bunch of firecrackers, sparks and everything. Wow. And another time, that same year, one of those snapped and cut a man's head right off.
Engineer was in the gangway, to call it. That's where the boat is round in the back, and it goes like here, where there's a door that opens. It supplies the stuff for the chief engineer. He'd had half of it closed, and he'd keep looking out, wondering how they're going, just seeing how things are going. When this thing parted, I didn't see it. It wasn't on my ship. We heard about it. The guy was leaning out just far enough that it cut his head right off.
Imagine that, boy. Another time, right here in Ashtabula, we had to move the boat from one dock to the other, and they had to go way out near the break wall. And two of us were trying to hold that big long steel cable to pull it in.
The only way they stood a chance of getting it on the next figurehead is they'd running it off the
spindle,
and so it'd give them a little more push. And then the thing was always going down in deeper in the water. You're dragging mud.
And it almost pulled us in. I think he or somebody hollered, "Let it go, let it go, let it go!" So we let it go. It would have pulled us right down into the water. Oh, they really should use a tug to do that. See, one or two tugs maybe. But they were going to save the expense of the tug. See, have us move it around.
When I was deckhand the first year, why, they wouldn't let me on deck when they were loading or not, so I wouldn't get hurt until I got accustomed to what's going on. So the first day I was there, well, parents woke me up, or Joe woke me up about 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock, and threw some clothes together and a pair of dungarees, and he bought me a pair of boots. I went up and looked around what to do, so they showed me where my room was, down in front of the boat, and down to the second stage. And the steering apparatus was there. The big cable going back to through the holes to the rudder, and this thing would rattle all the time. And they turn a little bit, you could hear it, and then they stop and it just like somebody hammering with a sledgehammer. Of course, it didn't take long. I got used to that too. The door would be open going down there, and people would slam the door right by our head. And the only way we get any wind sometime to put a funnel out through the window, and it was round, where it fit the window, and then almost round would catch the air. So once in a while, if there was no air or no wind coming, and we were going with the wind, we'd catch a little bit that way. It'd be hot down there. Coming in at Ashtabula one time. This was the second time I tried it. There's an extension with some handles here and a pulley, and there's a seat there to sit on. And there's a rope in between your legs, and you can go out. So they put the other two deckhands off where they're going to go in by the dock on the end here, so you could reach out and get it. They got the forward end lines. Okay, Torma, you're going to be next. I said, don't jump until we saw you. I was there, get ready to go, and I heard somebody holler, so I jumped. Almost into the water.
Wow!
And the guy following year lost his life on the sunk. John, I forget.
Leslie?
No.
Oh.
And his hands took all of the skin off his hands.
Yeah.
But it hadn't been for that, then they pulled me up. And far enough so I got onto the dock and went. And the old man, I thought he'd been eaten alive. But I thought somebody hollered. But it just, I think I weighed more than he did. And that pulley going through there, just one pulley, not a number of them, take it up.
Any serious accident reflects on the captain.
I got off and I got the back one, and they were watching me awful close that I would get hurt. Then a couple of times the boys went uptown and I was the third deckhand. I had to stick around when the boys wanted to shift the boat. And there was a second cook from Duluth, little short guy. And he didn't have many teeth. They were jerking him out for it. They were bad, they could fit him with some teeth. And before that, I get on the dock, pulling this, come on there, Father Torma, come on. They caught me saying the rosary once. Come on, pull that thing, pull it, come on. There, you need a touchdown, let's go. Then he was second mate. And then about 3 years later, he come aboard the ship where I was cooking. Well, he says, there's Torma himself, and he tried to go through the kitchen into the dining room. I said, wait a minute, Lester Gamble was in there. I told him, now what you got to do, you got to go out that door and go around and come in the same place. I said, the old man does that, and you're not going to come through my galley. He didn't say nothing, but he wasn't very happy with me. And then after a while, he got a little bit friendly because every time he was being served, I tried to find the most tender stuff for him. He didn't have just as bad teeth. Here he was 3 years later, still second mate. I went for a quarter to cook. Thanks be to God for that old man.
Yeah.
Then after a while, I got so my back was bothering me, I wouldn't get up for breakfast. So I would take care of it. He wanted me to give him a good recommendation, so I wouldn't go. What used to wake me was the captain's footsteps coming down on the deck. So I hurry up, get it dressed, and go around the front so he wouldn't see me, and then come in the galley. Well, what's he say today? It was a good experience for the second cook. He showed me, he gave me recipes for cookies of all sorts. And one was a sugar cookie and had to use not baking powder or soda. It smelled just like the bleach.
Yeah.
It smelled just like bleach.
No kidding.
Yeah. But all the smell cooks out of it, bakes out of it.
Huh.
And it used to be, look, you used to get off with the bakery shop.
Yeah.
I had mother give me a nickel, I'd go get a couple of them. But it's fine. Then that's what happened. I just kept going and doing everything I possibly could for the old man to make him happy. He said, Andrew, I got a letter about what it's costing you to feed this place. I said, oh, here it comes. He said, I want you to know that you're not the highest and you're not the lowest. You're in between. That's where I want you to stay. See, I bake all this bread, cookies and everything that that it filled the guys up, because we had to go on points on meat and canned goods. Oh, I remember taking a flank beef and cutting it off from the tissue, the hard tissue, and grinding that up. Ordinarily, the guys would throw that away.
Oh. But you never told them the time that I gave you some meat to feed them.
Oh, yeah, that was best of all. We were running short of meat, that is, as far as points are concerned. And the old man wanted tenderloins all the time. So when the meat come aboard, I cut the tenderloin out and hung it up in an icebox for him. And the thing was turning color before he wanted any of it. So I cut off a chunk like this and cut it in maybe 1-inch pieces, and then go around and cut the green off of it. And I cooked that for him. And he said, "Well, this is wonderful." See, that's what I used to eat in Cleveland. One particular restaurant would always save the tenderloins for him and let him get
Green on the outside.
He said, "Then it's age best." Well, this time I'm running a little short. So what I used to do, I used to grind Roundup for him and try that. He'd take it. So this time I was out to the fox farm, and I asked Joe for a piece of meat.
We had a nice big fat mule up there all winter long. Nothing wrong with it. Nice young tender meat. And then I asked him, "How many slices?" A nice big round steak like this, you know. Yeah, I don't know how many, 4, 5, 6 slices of that. Brought that back to the boat.
So I said to the second cook, I said, "Watch him closely when he tastes this." So we ground it from that morning and put half beef and half horse meat. Put it in there and cooked it. He ate it, licked his lips for it, and then he said, "Tell Andrew how I see him." He said, "Where'd you get this meat?" I said, "In Erie." He said, "Well," he says, "you know, the company don't want us to do business with Erie. We've got to give them something every time now, because this is the best meat I ever had." So then, next time I do it, I give them a little less beef until it was all 100%. And if he'd known that, he'd had me kicked over the side. So, the first Sunday I had the meal, I asked the chief engineer and his first engineer not to come in for dinner. I'm going to have something special for you. So I had some, I roasted it for him, and come in, sat down. Second cook and I went and sat with him and eating it. And what kind of meat is it? I said, "It's not beef. It's not beef." They tried to figure out what it was. It's not. It isn't elk. It's not moose. What could it be? So after they had eaten it all up, I said, "No, I'll tell you what it was." I said, "It was horse meat." "Why, you son of a so-and-so, why didn't you tell me? It wouldn't make any difference," the chief engineer said, because his folks come from Europe, and both the Germans and the Frenchmen were eating horse meat. They didn't have cows to eat, I guess. And I said, "No, whatever you do," I says, "don't tell the old man because he'll kill me." Well, they threatened me with that.
Blackmail him.
My second cook had asthma real bad, and every time we're loading grain, all that dust in the air, he was just choking. So we'd put him in the bedroom and hang up wet sheets to try to catch as much of the dust as we could. He'd just get all puffed up and breathe. Wow. So I wanted to be nice to him because he was nice to me. And then our last trip, we were loading grain. I had to go to 3 different places to load them up in Lake Superior, all in Canada. And first mate and I didn't get along very well. I don't know, he was expecting too much, he was trying to push me around or whatnot, none of that. Anyway, I had a couple of jugs of cider or apple juice left over from Thanksgiving, and I had it hanging on hooks in the pantry. and the people going by can see it. So I put a little yeast in there, a little sugar, and it bubbled for a while. They always look at it, when it didn't bubble anymore, it's time to put a cap on it and have some cider. For some reason or other, it didn't turn out good at all. I had to throw it away. But people that tested it, you know, it was real good for them, but I knew it wasn't real good. So everybody but the skipper, I think, knew about it. And they'd come in and look through the window, and then I finally took them down and put them out of sight. And what was left I threw away. But we were loading, and this mate had been up for about 12 hours loading all the time. And it was dark, wind was whistling around, it was in December, see. So he decided that he's gonna go right to bed after this. So I went up to see him, I says, mate, there's something on the captain's chair for you, take a good swallow of it. Here I had a fifth of whiskey on there, see.
Wow.
And he come in, I left the dining room door open, he come in, and he glug, 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 glug. He's drinking it out like water, you know. After a while I hear him put the thing down. He says, next morning when I saw him, he said, you know, I didn't even take time to make my report, so I went to bed. From that moment on, we became good friends. The next year when he was there, he had a deck watch. When they were on his shift in the morning, 2 to 6 in the morning, well, he had him working, remodeling my kitchen. And you got a little place you put your feet underneath. Well, I took all the thing out and put it so it measured from here to here to make sure I had room. Because you're trying to stand up close to it, your feet are going like this.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he put it up about 8 inches higher.
Oh.
Because I was tall and bend and go was just a bad spot.
No.
Just a bad spot, you know, just
Yeah.
not far enough so he could just hang there. So the next year we became friends. He had the deck watch make that. And this deck watch was a Hungarian.
Oh.
His father fought for Hungary in some Balkan country. And this guy cut himself, right hand, left hand, a big gash over here. And he wouldn't get off. I went off and had the doctor look at it at the suit and they come back on. He was always a tough guy. So I keep telling my dad was in service over there too, but I didn't tell him that he snuck out after a while.
Yeah, skip the country to get out.
But,
A lot of people did that at that time.
But after a while he says, you know, my dad had enough of all this stuff. He said he was on a pension, but it didn't make any difference. He got my mother and they took the back roads out into Netherlands, and from Netherlands they sailed to New York. Contrary to the rules, you know, but they accepted them every time. And as this deck watch was going down on a little hook ladder in a boat with the newspaper boat, where it was happened to be coming on every time we need newspapers or messages for going ashore. So I had a good piece of ham left in the icebox, and he liked show dog.
Oh.
So my homemade bread and this, I made a big sandwich, and cut it in half and wrapped
Big
it up.
backwood.
I told the porter to go and catch that guy before he leaves. They got down in the ship, they come back up, and
I'm thanking him. Thanking you.
he could never get enough meat. Right. What the heck, there was something else, but maybe some other time.
Now, how many years were you actually on the, how many sailors? 4?
8.
8? 8, wow. Yeah. See, all of my brothers had been sailing. So I was still working a boat socket. And I says, I want to get on at least for 1 month so I can know what it is, I can converse with them about it. So I took a leave of absence for 1 month, and it's sure business is slow in the summertime, go on. So then when that month was over, I called back and I get me another month, okay. Then, but by the 3rd month, business was picking up. Tell Joel, no more time off, get back to work here.
During that 2 months, there was only one time we got ashore together.
Yeah.
We went down past the grocery store out in South Chicago. This is where you get our groceries. Went for a walk. Most every night he'd take me a walk around the deck. We'd say the rosary, and my feet were so sore they felt like they were gonna fall off the there, just standing one place.
Standing, oh boy.
I don't know.
I get a kick out of the other fellows I was working with, because at night time when I'm gonna go to bed, I'd kneel down in front of my bunk and say my night prayer. So they stand off to one side laughing at me. Well, I don't care, so what? That's all right with me. They can laugh all they want, but I'm gonna say my night prayer.
The crew liked him better than liked me. I was more of a recluse. He'd fit in and sit down, play poker with him, whatever. And me, well, I liked my own place. I got bedroom and bathroom, dining room, pantry, and then the galley. The galley was open most of the time because we put lunches out for the guys in the afternoon and after supper. And the deckhands would be back there. We hadn't finished washing up. They're looking for some more to eat. Any cookies? Any cookies?
What was the name of that, up in Minnesota, that clinic brothers, some kind of brothers were those? You made a salad named after that. And you remember the salad?
Yeah.
And nobody liked it.
Oh yeah. Okay. This is health salad.
Yeah, but it was
From who's that outfit out
Minnesota, wasn't
in
it?
Minnesota?
Yeah.
Mayo Clinic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayo salad.
Mayo Clinic health salad.
Yeah.
So
Big dish like that.
there was shredded carrots and raisins you had soaked in water and then take the water down. And then you add either whipped cream or mayonnaise to it, and that was it. And then they didn't like it at all. They didn't like it. Oh, I told them to give them a big talk about it. So everybody in the mess room bringing their dish over and put it on Joe's plate.
I must have 8 or 9 of them salads. The only other time I did better than that is when, see, SEAL Test used to have a Christmas party for all the employees, and you could bring your wife. So, but Mama was pregnant very too far along with one of the children, couldn't. So Margaret was just the only one free. She was still in grammar school. So I brought her along to this Hungarian restaurant around Rhine-Madison someplace. It's not in existence anymore, but anyhow, you had your choice of either a chicken dinner or a ham dinner. So I chose one, I ate it, the waitress come along, I said, can I have the other dinner too? Sure. They brought the other, I ate that. Then for dessert, they had the nice Hungarian rétes, the strudel, the Hungarian strudel. And that's the one you could read a newspaper through, you know, that kind of dough. So they brought us each a helping of that, and they come around, you want any? Sure, and bring some, I don't know, 8 or 9 helpings of that strudel. After the meal was over, I went in and congratulated the cook what a nice meal they had. So, how many, you like it that much? Here, take one home for your wife.
We had a dining room table. I remember Mother making the dough, and when it was warm, well, first of all it had in it was shortening and flour and a little bit of salt. And after you worked it so well, it was kind of hard. But she kept working on, you get a hole like this, and then move your hand over, slap it down, slap it down, slap it down, slap it down. And then she could tell when it was done, she could get a hold of it, so it would stretch. So we got a big crock, and a whore, and put it in the oven, got it hot, and put this on the table under newspapers, top of newspapers, and put this on, and I don't know how long it would
Let it warm thoroughly, that dough.
And when you take it off, this dough is already stretching to the edge of the crocks. And you gotta hurry. You don't pull it like this, you put fingers on it like this.
Yeah, so you don't tear it.
Around the table,
Keep
all the way
around,
until you get past the tablecloth. Then she went along and stuff with coal on it. She went and pulled it all up toward this right.
And you could read a newspaper through it.
And that back, going around that table.
Oh.
I did it twice when I was home in the winter time. I don't think it got as good as Ma, but I knew how to do it, but now I don't know if I could remember how much it was. But then you sprinkle butter on it. And then you put whatever filling in it. What I used to like best was the apple and raisins in there. Then with tablecloth, you pull it up, you flop it over, flop, 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 till it wouldn't be round, it'd be flat. And you cut that into sections and bake it. Boy, oh boy, I could eat the whole thing myself.
Andrew, his buddies wonder how he need a whole pint of ice cream at a time.
Whole pint?
Tell him about your bet.
Okay. Come home in the wintertime, Andy Cussman, Joe Khalil, and Eamon Simon there, and another
His
guy.
classmates.
We're down in Erie Shores
Ice cream store.
ice cream store. That's somewhere,
Close to 44th.
yeah, okay.
Between 46th and 44th.
Close to where Army Navy store is
Yeah,
now.
yeah, uh-huh.
And it was snowing and raining, it was cold and blustery, and we had a few pennies in our pocket. I come home in October and sent the money home. There wasn't much else I could do, so I went in the Erie Shores and kind of.
With his buddies.
You know, what we did, we each brought a spoon, and we get a pint of ice cream. And we kept sitting there until the ice cream was all gone. Each got a pint. And then Joe Khalil says, I bet you can't eat a quart. What do you mean I can't eat a quart? Well, he says, if you can eat it, I'll pay for it. If you can't eat it, you gotta pay for it. So went on, you know, going on, talking away, just going down, didn't bother me at all. So the next thing I was talking to somebody, I turned around, these guys had disappeared. I had to pay for it. See, I had a habit, taking a half gallon and watching a movie or something, and I'd only eat the soft stuff, see? Pretty soon the softness all around it, get a piece of that. Well, I don't want to eat it all to bring it back here.
I told him about those 3 Hungarian guys that was in the freezer.
Oh,
Eating
yeah.
butter pecan.
Come in there.
John
Molnar.
Molnar, yeah, from Cleveland. He was in there maybe 10 minutes or so. He was freezing. He's getting out of here. So we stayed in there for about a half hour, 45 minutes, eating that butter pecan ice cream.
Didn't want to eat it in front of the people.
No.
It was
Sunday afternoon.
It was throwaway ice cream. You
Yeah.
You had to dump it.
Yeah, throw it away.
So we put it back with some others in there, and every time we had a chance, we went and ate it. Till we finished it. The guy come out, he was shivering. I told him he's kishkuru.
Yeah, little fella.
He's just a little fella.
Little
He
shrimp.
grown up kids. You can't
Can't take
qualify
it.
for this. Those guys better get going.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, this is the important part of the round. That's right. Over here. Okay, it's only $1 for her tip.
You got a big load. We need a team of horses.
That's right, you do.
Terry always tells me we work at the co-op.
Good. That's swell.
Grandma, chocolate 70, right?
Chocolate 75. Go ahead. Go right straight through. Yep, yeah, that's right. Yep.
If you don't, we got it on film.
Yeah. Steve, knock on the first door. Oh, she's got it. Go ahead. Then just take the cottage tree down to the next door. If it's locked, you're not home, ordinarily. Diet cottage cheese. Okay. It's locked. This door here. If you're not there, just leave the cottage cheese. Cottage cheese, you're not home. Okay, let's leave it. Oh, okay. So we can go back.
Just for fun.
I'll be around.
Another 30 years at least.
I hope not.
Oh, come on now, Joe.
I've been at it 38 years already.
You can always quit.
No, when the good Lord quits me, that's when I quit. Not until, this way. Huh? $1.
Why did you remember that? What is this?
Huh? That's right. You should have everything you need, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Surf yogurt, 65?
Yeah, 65. There is another flavor of yogurt down in the truck. We have one flavor with us.
Milkman.
Milkman.
I think I scared her.
Milkman.
Need anything taped to
It
it?
really is.
You need anything? No? Okay.
I've never seen a milkman looking like me.
You don't have to carry it.
That's all right.
I'm about spaced for when they come to the door, I'm there.
Milkman.
A lot of money, so
You need some money. Okay.
Milkman. He's sleeping on the couch.
Joe, that Joe.
Yeah.
Milkman, oops, already covered.
Where'd she go? The change.
Yeah, like.
I only got 40 cents.
Milkman. And I'm okay. Somebody's I owe you too.
Let me bring another one up. And a couple of-
Okay, there we go.
You sure you didn't put anything in there?
No, he never brings it up with us. Milkman. Milkman.
Everything on the truck.
No, not
No,
quite. You
not
got
quite.
any yogurt? and
Sure, we
milk?
got yogurt. Of course we got milk. Boy, asking me a question like that. How many you want? 10 of each?
Well, just so long as they ain't got seeds in it.
No seeds? Strawberries. That has seeds.
Let's pass.
They're all strawberries.
Well, what the heck, you had that last time?
Go down and get half a dozen of the, open a new box in the back end. Get like half a dozen of them.
That
Okay, he's
teacher,
gonna bring you up some that, no seeds.
no seeds.
Bring up
The cherry or peach?
Yeah, I think it's cherry, but it's, I purposely got some with no seeds because my wife can't eat the ones with seeds either.
What are you doing? Measuring the rooms here?
Yeah, don't you remember that program that says, smile, you're on candid camera? Well, you are, right now you're on candid camera. You remember that program? Huh? Yeah, I love that program. I especially like the incident where this guy goes into this restaurant and there's a couple eating, and he reaches over there and takes some out of this plate, this some out of another plate. By that time, the guy was going to beat him up. So the cameraman hurried out from behind to save the guy from getting beat up.
And he was taking his picture all the while?
Yeah, yeah. Another time, he went to this other restaurant, and when the man found out that he was on candid camera, he was going to beat the camera up because he was in the restaurant with somebody else, not his wife.
And his wife probably saw
I suppose. I don't know.
it. Yeah, I remember years ago when my husband, when he was living, he went to Cleveland for the multi-fiberglass to pick up supplies.
Uh-huh.
And he was in the Negro district.
Uh-huh.
And he went in to go stop into this restaurant. There's some steps going up. And he opened the door up, and here was this robber. He was beating these two old men. Oh, was he having a hell of a time.
Wow.
And he took one look, and he knew, he said, I better get the hell out of there. So he stepped back and ran around the corner. And of course, as he stepped back and shut the door, the two shots went through.
Ooh.
And it just happened to the police, you know, a cameraman happened to be there.
Oh.
And so his sister was watching TV, and she saw that, she says, why, that's Cleo.
Oh,
How
man.
did he get out there? And then of course she had to call him up, tell him he told her all about it.
Uh-huh.
And he had all the guys over the mouth.
Yeah,
He
sure.
could have been shot.
And
He
how?
had to move when he did.
How many?
All 6 of them.
Cherry.
Black cherry, you said without
I
seeds.
want
We
4 of
took the cherry seeds out, you know.
Yeah, well, you'd better.
And what kind of milk you want?
2%.
Okay. 1 or 2 or 3 or 4?
Well, I'll take one today.
Okay.
Well, I want the rest of them.
How many?
Oh, there. Well, you want to wait like,
No. He'll go with
Yeah, I can
you.
bring them down here.
oh, on
4 of them. Okay.
All together?
4
Yeah.
all together, yeah.
4.
Okay.
I gotta get my mic.
Snooze fast.
Yep.
Milkman. Milkman. Hi.
How are you ladies doing today?
Were you taking pictures of it?
Action News, Channel 3.
Action. Oh.
Look. Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. I'm moving all over the place.
How are you today? Yeah, just need any bread or milk today?
You're welcome. See you next week. Sure.
Do you have vanilla ice cream today?
I think
That's okay. Hi. Hello. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. That's good. I don't know if I should take some in. Sure, I need some. I like the large, right?
Those are large.
You don't have any extra large.
No, just large.
Okay. I like to do the large ones. I don't know how much. I wish I had any first.
What, the 2%?
Yeah.
No, just the other stuff.
They just put the others in.
Yeah.
Where's this Where did you say that?
You got lights?
Yeah.
hello, hello.
Who do you go? Oh, I don't know.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Noreen.
2 quarts, ma'am? You wanted 2 quarts of?
2%.
Half a
Yeah,
gallon,
hard.
2%, okay.
Yeah.
Fifth floor couch.
What can we get you today?
Well, I want 2 half gallons of the 2% milk.
All right, 2 of those.
Do you have some rye bread?
I think so.
Yeah, that's good. I had got the loaf last week. And I want a half gallon of ice cream.
Hi there.
What kind, ma'am?
You got the vanilla, and what's the other?
We don't have vanilla ice cream today. We have Neapolitan.
Neapolitan, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, you did have the, that's good. You got the bread.
All right. And this is room.
Hi. Quarter buttermilk, right? No? You already have some? You need anything else? 75 cents. You want some?